ROID RAGE! Is it real? Okay, sorry, was having a ROID rage moment. We're all calm now. Think. Today, welcome to a quick hitter, and we're just going to review the ROID Rage motivational video by the Tren Twins. And I've had so many people ask me in the last 2 days about this video, which I kind of find it's funny. But this has the Tren Twins, Alex Eubank, Lex Little, and Max Taylor lifts in them. Now, I'm guessing that these are just some sort of fitness influencers, guys that are online, because from my experience in the NPC and in the IFBB, I ain't never heard of any of these guys. And as a coach for all of these years, getting guys ready for state shows, national shows, pro shows, I ain't never heard of these guys. So let's get into it. Welcome to a quick hitter. Okay, so let's get into this video. And before we do, let me just tell you something real quickly. I don't know who these other guys are, but from a coach's standpoint, a guy that's done this for over 40 years, I have to say that these two guys, the Tren Twins, I don't know their names, but these two guys are impressive. They lift a lot of weight, and they carry a good bit of thickness on their frame. I don't know how tall they are. What are they going to look like when they're dieted down? I truly don't know. But that's the big surprise of your first show, right? What do you really look like when you're dieted down? Now, in case you guys, the Tren Twins, you guys see this and you think this old man is just out here beating you up or trying to trash you on the internet, that's actually not the case. Now, I am going to critique this video, but I do, like I said, find these guys impressive. And I think they could probably do some damage in the NPC if they can get their stuff together. This, just in case you're wondering, was me at your age. Yeah, I was 242 pounds, a super heavy all the way back then. Retired the first time in my early 20s and didn't walk back into a gym until I was in my 40s. And so went through a car accident, was paralyzed for almost 2 years, and came back from that and still won a pro card. So I know what I'm doing. I've done this for an incredibly long time, and I've gotten a lot of guys ready for shows. Now, just in case you're out there watching and you're wondering, no, I am not trying to get these guys to let me be their coach. I am retired from all of it. I enjoy what I do now, and that is helping guys through life. And if you have not seen the Forge playlist, I challenge you to go to that. But let's get into this thing, and let's take a look at the Tren Twins ROID Rage. Here we go. So right away, I have to say, I love the mask. When you're old like me, you can't really pull it off, but I don't know if that's an actual oxygen restricting mask. But if that is, and this cat's deadlifting like he is with that oxygen restricting mask, that's pretty impressive. Now, for me personally, all of the screaming and all of that stuff in the gym is not necessary. And let me just stop this real quickly. Let me just tell you that that is not normal, okay? Your average guys, your pros, your guys that are really far up there in the NPC, they're not in the gym screaming and hollering. And I get it. This is just a video with a bunch of young guys in it. But even in my young days, we weren't screaming and hollering. The whole Tom Platz thing, I was out during the time of Tom Platz. I mean, he was one of my heroes. But none of us ever got into that. And I was squatting 600 pounds for reps. My best bench press was 515 times. And so I've been there, I've done it, I've got the card, all of that stuff. But all of the screaming, yeah, okay, I get it. It's just for effect. So, but let me tell you this stuff. All you guys that are really overreacting to this, you're looking at guys that are making their living on YouTube. You're looking at guys that are fitness influencers, and they haven't really done anything yet as far as on stage. They don't know what the battle looks like. But if they compete, they will. But until then, they're untested. And honestly, as far as guys like me, C.F.W, those guys, nobody takes them seriously from a bodybuilding standpoint until you do something, okay? So let's go on. Here we see they're doing some tricep push downs, screaming at each other, okay. Now, let me say this. Let me just say this. When you are really in the middle of a prep, and I'm looking, forgive me for being so quiet, but I'm looking at the condition of these two guys. The Tren Twins, aren't they competing in June? As a prep coach, I'm not seeing what I would want to see for a competition coming in 4 to 6 weeks. I'm not seeing that. So that's my personal opinion. My guys always grew into the show. So if you look at Bo Weiss out in Tennessee, almost 300 pounds, we grew him into his show. And a lot of other guys that we grew into shows, I grew into my show. And so I'm not really seeing what I would want to see in these guys. The skin still looks very thick to me. Not much in the way of skin manipulation going on. I don't see any vascularity really. Now, this could just be the lighting in the video, but I'm just letting you know, I don't see what I would want to see as a prep coach. Now, all this screaming and all this nonsense, okay, I get it. We show Tom Platz here, screaming. And then, of course, all of that stuff. Now, this deadlifting with an oxygen-restricting mask on, that is incredibly hard. So I have to say, when you are doing oxygen restriction like that, that is extremely difficult. And so that is impressive, okay? But I have to say, this other deal, this other mask they're wearing, that's just for effect. That's for the video. Again, this is a lot for effect. But I have to say, in 1993, George Kimbrough, he killed his girlfriend. And his lawyers tried to use ROID rage as his defense. And of course, we know that was unsuccessful. So there's no medically viable description of what ROID rage is. Matter of fact, if you do your research, medical experts just say it's an overreaction to something that you would not normally react that way to. So now, again, these are two kids in a car screaming. I don't see any of this stuff as just viable. Some workout scenes, deadlifting, that type of thing. Now, like I said, this scene to me is probably the most interesting scene. It's the two brothers. I believe that's the two brothers. And of course, there's a lot of dramatic lighting there. So I would want to see these guys in good hard daylight with some quarter turns, some pictures. I would want to see what they really look like. Because in this picture, to me, they look like their skin is really thick. I don't see any vascularity really on these guys at this point. Now, let me just say this. I don't know what they're taking, the Tren Twins. I don't know what they're taking. I know Greg Doucette as is their coach. Greg, believe it or not, a lot of people make fun of Greg, and I have too in the past, just because a lot of times Greg's kind of funny, but Greg is the real deal, and Greg does know what he's talking about, so I believe he's going to get these guys where they need to be. But from my standpoint, Greg, I have to ask, are these guys still competing in June? Because from my standpoint, they are not where I would want them to be. I would want to see a little more skin clarity. I would want to see a little more fat loss for a couple of guys that look like, or I guess are supposed to be competing in a couple of weeks. So I'm just not seeing it. Now, if you know, are these guys still competing, put it in the comments below, because I'm actually really interested. I actually would like to follow this now because I want to see if Greg is able to get these guys in shape enough, or what kind of shape is he actually trying to get them in for their first show, which is always very interesting, because from a prep coach standpoint, you have to manage guys' expectations with what reality is. I don't know what these guys are going to do, but I know they're not super heavies. I don't believe they're heavies. I'm guessing they're probably trying to go into classic or something like that. I just don't see the extreme amount of size I would want to see. Now, having said that, if Greg is going to try to grow them into that show, then he may have them where he wants them. But again, I don't see from my standpoint what I would want to see from my clients at this stage, especially. So this to me is the best picture I've seen of these two guys. Now, the other guys, honestly, they're there, as far as I'm concerned, just riding off the tail. They're just drafting off of these two guys to get clicks on the internet. But very interesting. I love how they put Ronnie in there. Now, I don't know who this cat is, but all this screaming in the car, dude. Listen, I'm going to say this. You haven't done anything, okay? You can scream on the internet and all the 14 to 17-year-old kids are going to love you and all of that stuff. But your world has not been expanded outside of this little frame on the internet. You haven't done anything on stage. You haven't gone through a prep. You haven't done a battle. And maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you just want to be internet famous, and a bunch of little girls and a bunch of little guys are making you famous and making you money, and that's great. But all of this screaming in the car, that's not ROID rage, okay? So the guys that are asking me, is this ROID rage? The answer to that is no. This is YouTube euphoria. This is acting. These are boys playing on the internet. That's what they're doing. So no, I don't see. Now, hang on a second. You might think I'm trying to be disrespectful. I'm not being disrespectful. The Bible says when I was a boy, I thought like a boy. When I was a child, I thought like a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. This is childish stuff, okay? And maybe it makes you a lot of money, but this is childish. All this screaming in a car, this, I'm the best, all of that stuff. You need to take that stuff to WWE, get your butt kicked every other week, like a bunch of friends I know, and so you can scream and holler on stage. That's probably where you want to be. So, and again, the whole Tom Platz thing. I don't know, who's this kid with the long hair? I don't know who he is either. But if you know who these guys are, put it in the comment below. Again, these boys, and I say boys, guys, listen, I'm 57 years old. So when I say boy, I don't mean demeaning these are boys. These are young men with grown men body. These guys have packed on a lot of muscle. It's really impressive. The two Tren Twins. The other guys, again, I don't know them, but they are clearly not into the same stratosphere that these two guys are. But again, as a prep coach, I find these guys intriguing because you just don't know how far they can go. Now, they may not go anywhere, but if they go nowhere, it's probably because of what's up here and their how far this is going to take them. Because clearly they can withstand an extreme amount of pain. And let me just tell you this. I've told my clients this for years. The higher you go in the sport means the more amount of pain you can tolerate. So your tolerance for pain is directly relevant to the height in the sport you'll go. So doing some pull downs, and of course you gotta love anytime you see Eddie Hall. But all this screaming in the gym, guys. Okay. Again, dude deadlifts. These guys deadlift an extreme amount of weight. I don't know who the long-haired kid is. Okay, he's doing side laterals. So, but there you have it. A good motivation video for young guys. Honestly, it's not going to do anything for anybody that's a real competitor. It doesn't do anything for guys that are getting ready for shows. And so let me just give you a couple of things. I jotted down a few notes for these guys, and just a couple of things that I thought would be relevant. And again, I want to know what you think of these guys, all these fitness influencers. So I want you to put it in the comment below. Like, subscribe if you will. But here you go. Number one, let me just give you a couple of things for the guys. Number one, pros just go about their business. You don't see Jay Cutler in there screaming, that type of thing. You don't see them cursing all over the place. This whole thing is just YouTube euphoria. It's a bunch of young people that have gotten internet famous, and so they are full of themselves. And then number two, stop believing your own press reports. You know, you're writing your own press releases about your greatness, but you haven't done anything yet, which leads me to number three. All those guys are untested. You have not done your first show yet. You haven't got on stage and put it on the line. Now, I'm asking you guys, and I'm challenging you, because I think these guys have what it takes, both mentally and physically, to get the job done. I really, really do. I think that once we see them in their first show, dieted down, we're going to see what they really are at that point. And if Greg's as good a coach as I think he is, he's going to know the path he needs to put them on to get them to that pro level. I do not think they're getting their pro card anytime in the first year. That's my opinion. I'm not trying to poo-poo on anybody's parade. But again, you're untested. And if you have a moment where you can sit back and not be angry and all of that stuff, you have to admit you're untested at this point. You have to put your business out on the stage where you are being judged and you are being compared to 50 other guys and you are doing battle on stage. That is where you're tested. You are tested in that moment as to what you have. Now, listen, let me just give those guys, the two Tren Twins, some stuff or something real quick. And that is, what you have right now is what you're going into the stage with in 4 or 5 weeks, whatever that is. So be careful. You are lifting a lot of weight, and everybody knows you guys are strong as oxes. That is phenomenal. I love to see it. But save it. Save it for the off season. And I will say this. I've been there. I've done really crazy, dumb things. The biggest bench I ever hit was 2 weeks out from a show, and I hit 515 times because I was feeling it on that day. But I also tore a labrum. So you got to be careful, man. You can really get hurt. So these guys, you got to quit believing your own press reports. Guys, these guys that are influencers and stuff, they're so caught up in the YouTube world that they think they are more than what they are, okay? Put your stuff on the stage next to other guys that go about their business in a quiet way. I always covered up. I always stayed to where I was pretty much by myself, because from my standpoint, me getting on stage was just showing off my hard work of what I had done in the previous year. I was never the guy that wore or that had my shirt off all the time, was flexing in the mirror all the time, any of that stuff. I was considered the silent assassin. You guys want to be the WWE guys, that's fine, but you're still untested at this point. And then most of these guys, and I'm just being honest, most of these guys, and I will give this caveat, outside of the Tren Twins, I believe, if they go about their business right, I believe most of these guys will never win a national show. Now, I don't know if the Tren Twins will, but having said that, I think it's an interesting proposition just given what I see and what I think they are mentally, because what you are mentally is really separating what guys are in the gym. So you be smart, go about your business, stop believing your own press reports, guys, and do your work, grind it out. If you do that, you'll be successful. That today is a hard truth. Quick hitter. Thanks for coming in.